All right, welcome to rating every chapter or founding legion in the 40K franchise. Um, Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm sorry, my brain is so foggy. It's late. I haven't had an energy drink today. But in last place, 18th place, is going to be the Thousand Suns. Let's get the good stuff out of the way first. I do agree with Magnus. He did nothing wrong. I do understand that he was told never to use his powers, and that he did in fact use his powers and kind of fuck over the Imperium. However, I think the Emperor should have at least given a vague reason, even if he had to keep the project in secrecy. He could have given a vague reason, or better yet, he could have set up an alternate route of communication, like say, "Hey Magnus, I'm working on something very important. I can't have you using the warp to message me on Terra. You can't, or else it'll cause an accident with my project. So if you could maybe instead send a message to Mars and they will message me through non-warp means, that would be amazing. Just something like that, because saying, hey Magnus, don't use your magical gifts ever, is like, I'm not even a parent, I can tell you that's not going to work. They're very cool aesthetic. I like the Tomb Kings. I like, what's her name? Fuck. Am I going to have to open up Warhammer 3? High Queen Khalida. I like High Queen Khalida. I like the fact that she buffs everything in the Warhammer 3, all the missile units. Just using a Khalida box build is pretty fun. Like two Bone Giants and the two ROR Chopti and Archer units. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the bad thing, or the things that I don't like about the Thousand Suns that kind of put them at 18th. Their Legion is kind of owned by Tzeentch now, and as a Nurgle fan, I kind of gotta hassle him like a football rivalry. Like I gotta hate him. I gotta hate on him. Just and the other thing is, ever since they added Chaos Spawn to Space Marine 2, and I'm always getting fucking 3v1'd, and I hate it, and I hate the fucking... I actually didn't have genuine beef with the Thousand Suns until I started fighting those fucking Chaos Spawn. Now they fucking ride me up the wall, and they're in dead last, and I'm not even mad about it. I'm not even upset. I'm gonna have a great night's sleep tonight thinking about them being in last place. So in 17th place is the Raven Guard. So I talked about this in the first season of with the boys and I, with our Warhammer 2. There's too many like black chapters. Um, it's a boring color, but I get why they do it. Like, oh, it's just like it's like the John Doe of Warhammer 40K Space Marines. But just to let you like visualize my problem, let me just start reading off some of these names I have here. Raven Guard, Iron Hands, 30k Dark Angels. Oh, Iron Hands are on here twice. Whoops. Hold on. Black Templars, Black Consuls, Obsidian Jaguars, Night Watch, Black Shields, Black Dragons, Death Watch, Yellow Jackets, Dark Krakens. There's more that I know and I just am forgetting the name of, but yeah. There's just way too many black power armored chapters in my opinion. At least the Yellow Jackets were doing something cool, and some of these people splash other colors in, but too much black. When you got fucking people like the Howling Griffins, although the Howling Griffin night operations paint scheme does go awesome. Shout out to Mishmash for doing that in his thingy, his Bad Ab War video. So yeah, you can do black and still make it look cool, but it's just there's so many that are just predominantly black. The other thing is, I think it was either Pancreas Millwork or Mr. Bones 40K. They told me about the genetic like disposition, not disposition, or like what's the word? The genetic ingrained habit of Raven Guard units, not units, Space Marines to kind of what's the word? Rebel, I guess, for lack of better words, against their superiors, thinking that their orders and tactics are the superior way. And it only gets worse as time goes on, which I think is well, I mean, it fits given their whole like Primarch and all that. You know, they're just like the emo guys, but you know, still very it would get tiring after a while, you know. And I just don't like it. I don't like people that are genetically predisposed into being douchebags. Let me make sure I'm using that word correctly. Predisposed. Yep, they are definitely predisposed to being a douchebag, and for that reason, they are in 17th place. 16th place is the Iron Hands. They're a little bit rude. I'm gonna be real with you. Again, black power armor. I do like the clan concept, and they do have some cool and fun and awesome successor chapters like the Iron Lords and the Sons of Medusa. Those are very cool. And I believe they had one successor chapter that was like the Steel Confessors or something. Let me Google this. But yeah, they definitely had some cool. Oh yeah, Primaris Spaceman. Now that looks fucking awesome. Yeah, Iron Hand successor chapter. All right, I'm putting that guy. Let me grab this now. All right. But yeah, they have some more cool. I like the clan concept. I like their successor chapters more than I do the Raven Guard. And you know, I actually like the Iron Hands a lot. It's just that, you know, not everyone can be #1 spot. This could have been a tier list video, but it's not. Or so number 16 is going to be the Iron Hands. Number 15 is going to be the World Eaters. Kind of a one-trick pony in my opinion. If they don't have an axe and red armor and mouse ears, then it's not a World Eater, you know. They're kind of simple on the battlefield, and you know, they're kind of what you see is what you get. They were going to be lower on the list, but then I remembered all the narrative stuff, and like I think the writers for the Black Library novels are doing a lot of heavy lifting, making the World Eaters interesting. Yeah, that's all I can say for them. Emperor's Children next. I hate Slaanesh, and I don't like their superiority complex even before the whole corruption thing. But at least they have probably should have swapped them with World Eaters, because even then they're still just arrogant. They're kind of they're one trickier ponies, but they're just like kind of good at everything, so you can't really. I'm not good at everything, I guess. You know. Let me see their SAT scores or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, all I have written down here is just hate Slaanesh and superiority complex, and I just don't like that at all. I don't know. So next up is the Blood Angels. Not a fan of the Roman aesthetic or the High Gothic. Well, the High Gothic you can do. I'm just not a fan of it personally. I think for architecture, like Gothic architecture is very good. And I like the armor being ornate. And I also think that the Blood Angels actually should be the poster boys, not the Ultramarines. I think the red would look better. And I like that, you know, they actually have a more tragic lore under they're kind of like the Gilded Age of Space Marines, you know? They're very perfect on the outside and very, what's the word, classical? Very classical, what you would think of when you think of these these great Space Marines, and then you get into their lore and it's very tragic. Kind of a more rusty kind of decrepit interior that the Blood Angels have to their history that I think would be great, because people would learn about I should really do better for scripts. I scripted this. This This is the horse shit that I'm getting. Okay. Um, yeah, I think that they should be the poster boy because they look better. I think their predisposition towards close range tactics kind of shows newer fans what they're about. Red would pop more, and the lore, like I was saying before I got on a tangent. I think that because they would be the first faction people would learn about, I think the more tragic backstory would be better. You know, I don't know where I was going with that. Another thing I would like to talk about is since we mentioned the World Eaters, is I think that a lot of the Primarchs can be lumped into like the same peas in a pod, if you could, or the same sides of, or different sides of the same coin. And what differentiates their chapter is where they, or how they decided to handle that. And I think this is most prominent with Angron, Sanguinius, and one other person that I will not be mentioning yet. And I think that I just like the way Sanguinius handled it more than Angron did, where Angron simply let the rage consume him as the nails were biting. Sanguinius took his black rage and he tried to suppress it into try to like man versus nature his own desires, if you will, and try and build greatness from it. And that's where you get like I was saying, the Gilded Age of Space Marines there. I don't remember what I was saying, so I'm gonna stop yapping and get on to number 12, which is the Ultramarines. I'm not even really upset with these guys. I'm just fatigued with them being the poster boys. Um, I'm more of a any other fan. Any other chapter would be better than Ultramarines when it comes to media coverage, honestly. It's pretty boring how blatantly favoritized they are. If you look at the lore, like 30K, they were the biggest legion. They were the one that could have broke the tide at the Siege of Terra. Because I remember there was a story. It was like, so it was Dorn, Sanguinius, and the Emperor all on Terra, and Dorn stayed down to protect the planet itself, and Sanguinius and the Emperor decided to teleport up into the, well, with a handful of Custodes, but they decided to teleport up into the flagship that Horus was on. And I remember there was a little bit of funny irony with as soon as Sanguinius and the Emperor went up onto that ship, Guilliman sent a message to Dorn on Terra being like, hey, we're going to be there in like 3 hours. Just hold out for 3 hours and we'll be there. And we'll change the tide and it'll be awesome. Bit of funny irony there, but still, like, I'm just bored with them being like the saving grace of the Imperium constantly. And for the past 10,000 years, it's kind of been that. I don't think they should be the combat force because they're kind of like the good at everything, or okay at everything, not the best at everything. And then you it's kind of like that meme of the looks inside. Fucking what was it like? I don't remember. I'll pull up one of the memes. I'm sure. But guess what I'm beefing with is they're supposed to be the jack of all trades, master of none. But they end up kind of being the master of everything just because nobody else is really given time to shine outside of like the Dawn of War franchise. And you know what? I take it back. I'm not even fatigued with them. I am pissed at them because fucking 2025 was supposed to be our year of chaos, and Titus and his whole ass gaggle got fucking models. Well, we got like one Age of Sigmar chaos model and then left Huron. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Alright, I'm getting off my soapbox. Number 11 is the Night Lords. I think I've seen a lot of people saying that they have been fatigued with like what Disney's doing recently with trying to make every villain into like an anti-hero, where they're just kind of fatigued and bored with the whole, you know, oh, but you know, it's to help feed the orphans or some shit. I think it's good to just have like a Jack Thorner of the 40K. Jack Thorner, what's his name? The big pie guy from fucking Puss in Boots. But yeah, I like that there's mustache twirler villains. If you see them, you know some evil shit's about to happen. Um, I think Conrad had a good concept of justice, even though he was kind of batshit insane, and he definitely struggled with orchestrating that justice, even though, sometimes the cause is lost. Let's be real. Sometimes the cause is lost. And it is a little unfortunate that his sense of justice did not carry on to his sons, even though, it was probably kind of his fault with, the Nostromo replacements and all that. Oh, that was a horrible voice crack. Their armor is cool. I like the bat wings. I like the skulls. I have yet to see a Kit Basher not absolutely eat that shit up when they're making a Night Lord. The lightning, in my opinion, is a little much, but I've seen a lot of people pull it off. 10th place would be the Black Legion / Sons of Horus. All I have here is written on my script here is literally Ultramarines but cooler, and I think I stand by that opinion. Literally Ultramarines but cooler. They actually feel right on the battlefield. They actually excelled in combat. Charismatic leader, all of that. So next up, number ninth place, is the Space Wolves. I actually used to be a Space Wolf hater. But the more I thought about it, because I originally wasn't just going to try and rattle these off in my head, because I knew this fucking video was never coming out if I did that. But I started doing them out, and I was like, oh yeah, Space Marines. Yeah, Space Marines are going to be the bottom guys. Oh yeah, Space Wolves, they're going to be like bottom 3 of the Loyalists. Come on. Then I was looking at it, and I'm like, I actually like the Space Wolves a lot more than I thought I would. And this is coming here because I was coming up with things to talk about, and I saw not 14 words. No, there's more than 14 words on this script. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was thinking about things to talk about them with, and I got, pretty much only good things to say about the Space Wolves. The Germanic / Central European aesthetic I prefer more over the Roman aesthetic, or Roman / Gothic aesthetic of, like, say, the Blood Angels. Even though it's a little overdone, Fenrisian. I used to dream about the paint Fenrisian Gray. That's how good of a paint job it is, even though it's like a little dorky on some of the models back in the day. They definitely got a glow up though with their Primaris reinforcements. And like I was talking about with the Sanguinius and Angron being same sides of the coin, I think that there's a third angle here, which is Space Wolves and Leman Russ, where they took their innate savagery and on the inside, and instead of either repressing it or just letting it become what they are, they kind of owned it with a sense of pride in more of a self-determination kind of way. Like, yeah, this is who we are. We're not going to be ashamed of it, but we're still warriors at the end of the day. We're still Space Marines at the end of the... where was I going with this? Fuck. I was doing so good. I don't remember. But basically, I like that they kind of self-determined and they embrace themselves while still making their own self-determined path in the Imperium. And also, I think they'd just be a good laugh. I think they're like the frat boys of the... What the fuck was that? I think they'd be the frat boys of the Space Marine Legions, Like, everyone has that period where they just want to party, and I think those days are a little bit behind me, but I think they'd be a good laugh for a little while. Number 8, Word Bearers. Probably one of the worst takes on this list I have here. But This is my hill to die on, so fuck off. All I wrote down here was Black Legion / Sons of Horus, but cooler. And I think it's because they are, I think they're kind of like Black Legion in the sense of more, kind of more mustache twirlers on a larger scale that the Night Lords couldn't quite live up to. But their armor just looks cooler in my opinion. Like, let's take a look here. $30K. No, Iron Hand's not Grey Knights. What's the fucking... What was I just talking? Ord Bears. I do think the burning of Monarchia was a bit overkill, in my opinion. Not the best. Cult of Paint did... Oh, yeah, this is the one. Cult of Paint did a very good word bear, in my opinion. I think that looked awesome. I mean, that's like the gold standard of what a what's the word? Fuck. I think that's like the gold standard of what a word bearer should look like, even though he put a lot of fucking effort in there. It was a charity model he made. It was very good. Next up, number 7th place, the Dark Angels. Like I was saying, with both the Blood Angels and now the Space Wolves, I'm liking the more North Central European aesthetics, leaning more towards like actual chivalric knights of the Dark Ages and the medieval times. I think that is objectively a cool aesthetic. I think for Space Marines it's the best. You can certainly lean in other directions, like Spears of the Emperor, I think do a good mix of medieval and Roman aesthetic to kind of make it work, and at the end of the day, Blood Angels still look very good when they were over the top, but I think it's newer Blood Angels I'm not really jiving with. And you can do other stuff like the more tactical, like, Lich's Labs, Night's Watch, just regular old Primaris Marines. You can still do some tactical stuff, but I think that Space Marines exist best in this kind of pseudo-medieval aesthetic. First Legion, gotta give credit to Ankh. They were the one that started it all, and not just in the sense of the lore also. My sister played Dark Angels first, and they're the ones that got me into Warhammer, so gotta give some credit where credit's due. Number 6, White Scars. I like their attitudes. I like that they're just chill guys, even when they're not chill guys on the battlefield. I think that's a nice, they can play when they can play, but when it comes to work, they can get it done. I like that about them. Their name, the Laughing Killers, goes fucking insane. I think everyone and their mother can agree that that is like a badass name to have for a group of soldiers. White armor is a brave choice to paint. Gotta dock some points for that. The Khan's cool. And yeah, without further ado, that's kind of all I have to talk about him, so let's get into number 5. My number 5 is the Alpha Legion. I like their aesthetic. I like their concept. I think the blue scales look awesome. I think the James Bond stuff is cool and unique. As much as I hated about it, I did kind of like the espionage theme and story of like the new, what is it? What's the new COD Black Ops? It was the sequel to the Call of Duty Cold War. The one with Frank Woods in it. I don't remember the name, but I liked it. I liked the campaign, the concept of the campaign. You know what pissed me off about that campaign, though, is it didn't count the AS Val as a suppressed weapon, so it alerted the guards in that one level where I had to, sneak under some fucking ballroom party bullshit going on. That pissed me off. How the fuck is you're not gonna count the AS Val as a fucking suppressed weapon and alert the guards? Dummy thick ass AS Val alerting the guards to my position. Bullshit. All right. Um, without the with that tangent out of the way, I do think, however, they're not the best use of superhumans, because when you're, a literal walking tank that is bred since birth to be a killing machine, I think that it's not the best use of your time to be sneaking around in the back line like that. It felt like they were kind of designed to be traitor legion, if you kind of understand what I'm saying there, through all that stuttering. Number 4, Imperial Fists. I love me a defensive position. I love me a defensive position. I love me a last stand. I love me a holdout. I want to die bleeding out in the snow knowing I protect my loved ones. I think that's just like a male fantasy. I think every guy likes the Imperial Fist for that reason. Obligatory, Dorn lives. He's alive. There's no way he died from just a hand being gone, right? There's no way. The only reason they're not in my top 3 is I fucking hate painting yellow, and this comes from a guy who has an almost fully painted Baratheon army in Song of Ice and Fire. Which, hold on, why the fuck is it so hard to find these goddamn models? I have been looking for like a year and a half. I cannot find the fucking Thornwatch or Brienne the Blue. Why the fuck is it so difficult? Number 3, Iron Warriors. In my opinion, they're just the Imperial Fists, but a little bit cooler. I think they kind of get a bad rep as being kind of like douchey. Because, I mean, you look at Perturabo, and you look at the missions they were constantly taking, I think they genuinely were a little underappreciated. But I do like that they kind of get this, they kind of earn their salty attitude, if that makes a sense. Because it was always, they would succeed as sure as the sun will rise the next day, and I kind of agree with that. There's kind of like the certainty in my life of this will happen as sure as the sun will rise the next day. I got a dock points. I was almost thinking about putting Imperial Fist in the top 3 because of this, but Primarch Perturabo is a bitch ass coward. I remember me and my friend Michael, Michael, we're just like playing around like, oh, who would win, and it was we couldn't decide where to put Perturabo in like a straight duel, because we literally couldn't find him dueling another Primarch. I think the closest we came was he it always would say he fought such and such Primarch, but it was always the Iron Warriors doing the fighting, and it was just his tactical genius. Which, granted, if you're smarter in the mission room, you're smarter in the mission room. But you got fucking 8 bolters strapped to your wrists, and you ain't gonna fucking use them. Bro, like, the closest we came was it saying he fought Angron and won because he tired out Angron. Like, what the fuck? And then we're not even sure if that meant he actually fought Angron. Anyways, I'm starting to foam at the mouth here. I'm talking about this bitch-ass Perturabo. He does look cool. Second place has to go to the Salamanders. They're objectively the best loyalist chapter. I love the green. I love fire in video games and like damage over time in general. Shout out to Papa Scorch. If you know, you know. I also this kind of goes hand in hand with the defensive superiority of the Imperial Fist, but the compassion and the willingness to defend people other than yourself that the Salamanders inherit from their Primarch, I really agree with. I think that more chapters should feel that way about humanity, because at the end of the day, what would the Imperium of Man be without man? You know? And without, I don't think I have anything else to say, so on to number 1. The Death Guard. Love me the Death Guard. I used to have an army of Death Guard 40k back in the day. Still have my favorite model to this date. It's one random Plague Marine, and I think it's the Dark Imperium box. I can't remember. It was one of the boxes. I think it was actually back in. No, Primaris was a thing at the time. I don't know, but I like them. I used to, but in this box there was this one Plague Marine I really liked, and I named him Brother Tentacle Tummy because I was like fucking 10 or some shit, and I loved him to death. He's still my favorite model to this day. They have the defensive prowess of the Imperial Fists that I really like, but because they are Nurgle's Legion, they just take it up to an 11, which I really like. Like I said, damage over time is really awesome to me. And poison, it is a damage over time. If only there was a way to put that on the tabletop that made the Death Guard not just ass. And I think that Death Guard, like, I remember there was this one guy, it was a little goblin on YouTube, that said his one complaint about Death Guard players is that they all just paint Death Guard with the standard box art green and brass, which I think you just cannot. I think everyone does that because you just can't improve on perfection. Even though I like the heresy aesthetic, and while I do agree that the old Forge World kits, where they leaned more into the decomposition aspect of Nurgle's corruption over the mutation aspect of the new Death Guard. While I do think the decomposition aspect did look cooler, I think that the 40k Death Guard that we have are just perfection in my opinion. And without further ado, yeah, that's my list. Salamanders. I was thinking of just giving Salamanders and Death Guard both first place, but like, yeah, there were gonna be some fused ones on this list. I was gonna put Ultramarines and Sons of Horus on the same one, but I was like, oh, because they're basically the same thing, just different sides. But Death Guard did manage to eke out first place. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.